Hey, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's Morning Thunder, and today's episode is going to be a little unusual. I wanted to make you aware of a little adventure I had yesterday coming home from Tampa. I live in North Florida, very close to the Florida-Georgia border, about 6 miles south of the Florida-Georgia border. So I went down to visit my family in Tampa. We were having a celebration, and stayed overnight, a couple of nights, and then turned around and came back yesterday morning. Now, there was a front moving in, and I wanted to get home before the rain. Didn't want to drive through the rain, so I left early. Left Tampa around 11 in the morning. 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, I expected to be home around 2, 3 o'clock at the outside. So I got on Interstate 275 and then to 75 northbound. I noticed my car, which is a 2006 Ford Focus, was not getting normal acceleration. Engine seemed to be fine. Everything was firing properly as far as, it wasn't ragged or bumpy, anything that way, but just wasn't accelerating properly. But otherwise, everything seemed fine, and I passed it off too. Well, maybe I'm a bit of a worrywart, so I noticed really subtle differences. Maybe I was tricking myself. So, along around Wildwood, which is about 30 miles south of halfway home for me, there was a traffic backup. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get off here, and I'm going to take 301 north to go home, because there's always a lot of traffic around Ocala. I don't know what's wrong with Ocala, that they can't get their traffic signals coordinated off and on the interstate, or whatever they need to do to correct the traffic problems. But typically a 30-mile backup north or south of Ocala is to be expected, where you're creeping along on the interstate. I've learned to deal with this just by getting off and going 301 north. So that's what I did. So I'm driving down 301 north and pull up to a light. There's a lot of lights, that's the only problem, but at least you're moving. And I noticed a grunk noise when the car eased forward. Grunk. And it was coming from the left front. So I pulled over at a Marathon gas station in Summerfield, Florida. And I checked out all of the wheels, and the left front wheel was discolored and so hot I could feel the heat coming off of it. Could just lightly touch it. Was clear it would burn me if I touched it any more than that. So it appeared to me that the caliper was stuck on the brake pad and causing a lot of friction. I had some water, fortunately, in the car. I don't normally travel with a lot of water, but my sister had insisted and given me some before I set out that morning, blessedly. Just like the traffic backup on the interstate was a blessing in disguise. So that wheel was on the verge of catching fire. It was so hot. When I splashed water on it, it sizzled like a hot pan, so hot you would sear steak on it. Really hot. Anyway, I called AAA, and here comes the point of this video. I don't like to see other people get stranded, particularly women. I'm 65. Being stranded on the side of the road in unfriendly territory where there's a bunch of people who are not of like political persuasion, and hostile. Anyway, wasn't good. Me and my dog stranded on the side of the road. So I did the smart thing and I called AAA. In my family, we have a family AAA membership, and because we share households, and we have the Premier plan, and we've had it for years. And here I am, broken down in Summerfield, Florida, about 125 miles south of the border and about 135 miles south of my mechanic, who's just up in Georgia. Fussell Tire, run by a gentleman named Bill, don't know his last name, but they're a great shop. I recommend them. So, always relying on AAA. They've always done a great job for us. We call AAA. I call AAA. AAA said they'd get somebody to me. They tried to get me to load their app, which I did eventually do. The app did not work, and it was annoying, but that's all right. A few minutes later, I'd say 15, I hear from a gentleman named Brandon. Brandon asked me where I'm going and is everything okay? Will the dog be all right in the car? My dog's just a border collie. She doesn't like people she doesn't know, but she doesn't growl or bite or snarl or anything like that. She'd just be a little scared. So he said, okay, I'm not sure I can actually drive that far. Let me check with my office. I didn't hear back from him. A half hour goes by. So now I've been sitting here, parked in the shade, in the heat. It was very hot yesterday down there in Summerfield for 45 minutes. So I called AAA, who had not gotten back to me, and AAA said, we can't find anyone who is willing to take their drivers and their vehicles out of the area right now. We're going to try again in about an hour to find someone. Your location is right now is just a bad spot for us. We can't find anyone to take you. Well, that's very interesting because I have Premier membership and it includes a couple of 200-mile tows, and we've used that several times. This time it wasn't working because they couldn't find anybody. So I thought, all right, maybe if I can get closer to Ocala. So I thought back to things Dad had taught me about cars. I had cooled the wheel down, and I thought, I don't know if this applies to disc brakes, but he used to tell me that you could adjust the calipers by putting the car in reverse and backing up and then braking fairly hard and doing it again and again and again. So I did it 3 or 4 times. The caliper was unstuck. The wheel was moving freely now, not getting, well, it had cooled down. And I thought, all right, well, let's just take it a ways north, see if I can get up to Ocala, which is a big city, see if I can get help there. So I got back in the car and the brakes were really spongy. But if I went slow and I stayed way back, I thought, I'll be okay. I've done this before. I'm a pretty skilled driver. So I'm driving down the road, staying well back. My sister calls me, wants an update. So I tell her what has happened. She's like, are you kidding me? They didn't come through for you? I said, no, they failed me utterly. AAA failed us utterly. Said I'd have to wait another hour after 45 minutes and they would try again, that they were not sure they could even find somebody in an hour. So I started north. By this time, I'm past Ocala, and she implores me to pull over at Micanopy. So I pull over at Micanopy at another marathon gas station. This trip home was to be a marathon, so it was kind of, I don't know. Anyway, symbolic somehow. So I pull over there because she gets me on the phone, merges the calls with an agent from Allstate. AAA. And this agent, Rob, very helpful, very kind, very conciliatory, very sorry I was having this problem, says, okay, we'll get somebody back to you shortly. You'll hear from someone. 30 minutes goes by. Nothing. No calls whatsoever. So I call AAA. And they tell me there's still no one willing to take you. We will try again in an hour. Okay, so I'm going to be another hour and a half. I wasted an hour at the other marathon, and now I've wasted a half hour at this marathon, and they tell me they're going to try again in an hour to find a tow truck driver who will take me where I need to go. I'm not good at waiting on anybody, especially not on men. So I started out again. I got home around 6 p.m., 6:30, something like that. I had too much to do to get settled back in. It was a very scary trip. When I say very scary, I didn't feel really scared at the time, didn't notice I was scared, but apparently I was really kind of stressed out because I was very tired and my heart was beating funny. Kind of racy in my chest, which is generally no pain or anything, just a feeling in my chest. So I thought, okay, well, that's usually an indication I'm really stressed out. So the reason I'm making this video today for Morning Thunder is because it is wrong that you can buy a very expensive membership with the understanding that they are going to provide you towing service in an emergency stranding situation, and that they can tell you then, when you really need them, that they just can't find anybody to take you where you need to go. And you should wait where you are, no matter what the circumstances are, and they'll just get back to you in an hour, or let's put it this way, they'll try again in an hour and get back to you when they find someone. That's not acceptable. So if you're spending the big bucks for the premier membership with AAA to get those out in the middle of nowhere tows where you may need to go 200 miles, and that's why you've got that premier membership to include the 200 miles, there's absolutely no guarantee it's going to work for you, ladies and gentlemen. None. If you're buying it for your daughters or your sons to go to college, no guarantee that AAA will actually find anyone to tow you or your kid. And they're going to be left there, like I was, 65 years old, with my dog, stranded on the side of the road and having to drive another 130 miles with spongy brakes that required about a quarter of a mile to stop. I'm glad Dad taught me the things he did about driving, because it made me a driver capable of handling that situation as safely as possible. And handling that situation myself was certainly preferable to waiting with this red mop sticking out like a sore thumb on the side of the road with my little dog. I hope this helps somebody out there. If you've got the Premier membership with AAA, you might want to reconsider spending all that money, since they're not going to be able sometimes to find someone willing to actually tow you that 200 miles. And they're not going to tell you when they sell you that membership that they might not be able to find someone to take you that 200 miles. They're not going to tell you that. You're going to find out in the worst possible way. Oh well. So I hope this helps folks out there. Happy morning, Sunday morning, and make it a super day, folks. Do the best you can with what you got. And for now, where did I put that? Oh, there it is. We're going to put that little eye out again. Bye for now.